So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Brexit. British wine wholesaler leaves Brexit land for good over paperwork. So this guy works in as a wholesaler for wine, and I found his reasoning for leaving quite interesting. It's over the paperwork, and I think the amount of money he's paying for hauliers and in customs fees. So a British wine wholesaler who last year criticised Brexit as the biggest threat to his business in 30 years has decided to leave the UK after Brexit paperwork made a £150,000 hole in his revenue. That's a significant amount of money. Daniel Lambert, who supplies M&S, Waitrose, and 300 independent retailers, so it could be restaurants and other people buying, small quantities of wine. But these are big companies: M&S, Waitrose, etc. Huge companies he's supplying here. Is moving to Montpellier in France this week with his wife and his 2 teenage children. He's going to set up a French company to export back to his own company in Wales, which is really interesting. I know Cheshire Cheeseman did something different where he kind of set up an EU subsidiary which is going to deal just with EU business, and obviously the Cheshire one, the one in England, is going to deal with solely UK business. So it's interesting that he's doing one to kind of sell back into the other one. Interesting. He said the only way he could get around the incredibly complicated paperwork for importing alcohol was to establish a French company to export into the UK and do all the administration in the EU himself. So I think he might be having issues maybe with the sellers. So whoever's importing from may be charging him an arm and a leg to get the paperwork and other things done. That might be the issue here. They might, because obviously the importer pays the fees. And maybe that's the issue. I don't know. He says, I'm doing what the government was suggesting, that's funny, which is to have a company here and in Europe to mitigate the impact of Brexit, he said. Daniel Lambert Wines imports more than 2 million bottles of wine a year, which is a lot of wine to import. But the end of the Brexit transition agreement in January ate into any profits, with red tape costing the company between 100,000 and 150,000, Lambert said. And what if we started doing physical checks and other things, that cost would go up significantly more. Also, the fact that the Brexit VAT changes on alcohol makes wine more expensive in the UK as well. We've spoken about that previously a couple of times. Before Brexit, transporting wine across the channel is relatively straightforward. After Brexit, it's turned into a nightmare, with hauliers fleeing the sector because of the complexity of the additional paperwork. And obviously, the more complicated the paperwork is, the more chances of failures happening. And a lot of hauliers, you don't want to have to send consignments back. It's going to cost you a lot of money and be a massive waste of time. That's one of the reasons why I think hauliers aren't dealing with this stuff. All goods imported must be accompanied by paperwork detailing a commodity code and other information such as the origin and destination of the cargo. Obviously, lots of countries can grow vineyards. Wine imports require specialist expertise. For a start, each type of wine has an individual commodity code depending on the variety of grape. I mean, this stuff's wild. Absolutely boring bureaucracy. The type of wine, the alcohol strength, the size of the container is being imported in, and whether it comes from a protected designation of origin, which it makes sense to have all these rules, but this is a real snooze fest. According to the government website, there are 361 different commodities in the wine category alone, and if there's a mistake made, consignments can get sent back. A pallet is made up of different wine cases, with each one attracting additional charges. So if you have, say, one kind of wine from France, maybe I know nothing about wine actually, I'm not going to come up with examples. You can come up with examples in the comments. Lambert said this has proved a massive deterrent for logistics firms, with the number of hauliers now prepared to transport the alcohol down from hundreds to just 4 or 5, allowing brokers to charge up to £400 for each consignment. So I'm assuming he's talking about customs agents potentially. I'm not sure when he means brokers specifically. Brokers have found themselves doing pretty much whatever they like in terms of charging, because so if you're willing to do it, is he talking about hauliers or is he talking about customs agents? I'm not sure, because broker is not a word I'm familiar with in this context. For mortgages, I am. For Lambert, it is complicated, but the only post-Brexit way of continuing to trade in Britain, as it will enable him legally to export and import while cutting out the middle agent, charging up to £150,000 a year for paperwork. It must be customs agents he's talking about. It's absolutely incredible. In the 21st century, people are being in effect barred from importing from Europe unless they pay brokers lots of money, he said. He talks about the impact on small to medium businesses, and you can see customs agents are absolutely raking in money here. As well as logistics companies, so the hauliers are raking absolute money here, because they just charge them an arm and a leg, because people don't want to deal with this stuff because it's complicated, and the less people that want to deal with it, the more money you can make if you're the only one willing to deal with this stuff. So evidently he's unhappy. I'm just wondering how How would it work if he's using his EU business to export to his UK business? Is that feasible? I'm not 100% sure on that one. Generally, the way I thought they would do it is the EU subsidiary will deal with EU business. I thought that's how it's going to work, but evidently, I think he's going to put all the wine together in one kind of consignment and try and send it off that way, rather than buying it in bits and pieces where he has to get charged per consignment. Maybe that's the way he's trying to do it. I have seen other companies try and pull similar tactics, so maybe that's it, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But anyways, if you got more insight into this than I do, let me know in the comments and I can go over this video. Point being is that this guy, British wholesaler, worked in the UK wine wholesaler, worked in the UK for 30 years, has his own business. He's setting up shop in the EU now, and he's going to make EU revenues. That subsidiary he's setting up in the EU will pay corporation tax. So yeah, more money for the French, so Cheshire Cheeseman, and now I need a nickname for this guy, Wine Wholesale Lambert. I'll come up with something better. Is making money for the French now. I don't blame them. Absolutely do not blame them for this. It's not their fault. This is Brexit. This is on the government, and they are just following the government's advice. Maybe it's a bit late in the day for him, but the UK only started doing checks really at the start of this year, I think, where you had to actually pay VAT, I think, as you cross the border, rather than deferring it as many other companies did. And then HMRC were like, yo, we can't deal with this dog, it's too much, the backlog's huge. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.